Have you ever really looked at a simple white t-shirt and wondered how it got that way? You see, before it can be dyed any color in the rainbow, it first has to become the perfect white. So today, let's pull back the curtain on the secret scientific journey your t-shirt takes, a wild 5-step cleanup that turns raw, humble cotton into a pristine canvas.
Right, so you might be thinking, why all the fuss? It's just cotton, right? Why can't we just take the fabric straight from the plant and start dyeing it? Well, it turns out that raw fabric is hiding a few dirty little secrets that make it, frankly, terrible at taking on color.
And that really gets us to the heart of the problem. You see, cotton fabric that's fresh off the loom is, well, it's anything but a clean slate. It's actually loaded with all sorts of natural and not-so-natural gunk that acts like a raincoat, completely blocking water, chemicals, and most importantly for us, dye.
Now these impurities, these villains of our story, they really come in two flavors. First, you've got the natural impurities, stuff that's just part of the original cotton plant. And then you've got the additive impurities. These are things we actually add on purpose during manufacturing to help with the weaving process.
Let's break that down a bit. That natural stuff, we're talking about fats, waxes, and proteins, it makes the cotton fiber repel water. That's kind of the exact opposite of what we need for dyeing, right? And then there are the additives, mainly this starchy stuff called sizing, which is coated onto the yarn to make it stronger for weaving. But the problem is, it forms this tough protective shell that blocks everything. Both of them, they've absolutely got to go.
And this chart really gives you an idea of how much of this natural gunk we're dealing with. Yeah, raw cotton is mostly cellulose, which is what we want, but a pretty significant chunk of it is all this other stuff, the proteins, the oils, the waxes. It might not sound like a huge percentage, but trust me, it's more than enough to completely ruin any attempt at dyeing.
Okay, so how in the world do we get rid of it all? Well, the fabric has to run a 3-part gauntlet. And to keep it simple, let's just think of it as a shave, a soak, and a scrub.
First up is a process called singeing. And yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. We're literally giving the fabric a super close shave with fire. The whole point is to burn off all those tiny, fuzzy fibers that are sticking out from the surface, which gives us a much smoother, cleaner fabric to work with. And this whole thing happens at lightning speed. It's incredibly precise. First, they use brushes to lift up all those loose fibers. Then, the fabric just zips over open gas flames. We're talking speeds of up to 150 meters a minute. And right after, it's plunged into a water bath to kill any sparks. It's a high-speed, high-stakes shave, for sure. Next up, after the shave, the fabric gets a nice long soak. This step is called desizing. Now, remember that additive impurity, the starchy coating we talked about? This is where we go after it. This is where we get it off.
And you really can't overstate how crucial this is. That starch coating is basically a force field. It's completely insoluble in water, and it'll stop any of the later chemical steps from actually reaching the cotton. Honestly, without desizing, all the other steps would be a total waste of time.
All right, the third step in our gauntlet is scouring. Now that starchy shield is gone, we can finally get to work on the natural impurities. Think of this as a hot, alkaline chemical bath for the fabric, like a deep cleansing spa treatment that finally washes away all those nasty, water-repelling oils and waxes.
What's happening here on a chemical level is pretty cool. The process actually turns the fats and oils into soap. That's called saponification. So they just wash away. It also breaks down proteins, dissolves minerals, and gets rid of any dirt that's hanging around. And the big result? The fabric is finally, truly absorbent. It's now ready for the next phase.
So our fabric has been shaved, it's been soaked, and it's been scrubbed. It's clean, yeah, but it's still not truly white. This next stage is the final purification, the one where we create that perfect, brilliant white canvas.
And that, of course, is where bleaching comes in. This step has one job, and one job only: destroy the natural pigments that give cotton that kind of creamy off-white color. We have to completely eliminate that underlying color to get a pure, uniform white base that won't mess up our dyes later on.
So what's the best tool for the job? Well, the industry standard is good old hydrogen peroxide. It's actually known as the universal bleaching agent because it's so versatile. It works great on all kinds of fibers, not just cotton, and it does the job without causing a lot of damage.
Okay, so our fabric is now clean, absorbent, and brilliantly white. We could probably stop here, but there's one last optional step that can give our cotton fabric actual superpowers. This is the upgrade that makes it stronger, shinier, and even more ready for dye.
This amazing process is called mercerization. It's fascinating. They take the cotton fabric, put it under tension, and then bathe it in a strong solution of caustic soda. And what this does is permanently change the physical and chemical structure of the cotton fibers themselves.
So before this process, if you looked at a cotton fiber under a microscope, it looked kind of flat, almost like a twisted ribbon, kind of like a deflated kidney bean. It's also relatively weak.
But after mercerization, whoa, it's a total transformation. The fiber swells up and becomes round, smooth, and much, much stronger. This new shape doesn't just reflect light better, which creates this beautiful silky shine, it also makes the fiber incredibly thirsty for dye. The benefits here are just huge. You get a stronger fabric that's way less likely to shrink, you get that gorgeous silk-like luster, and, most importantly for us, you get a massive improvement in what's called dye affinity. A mercerized fabric can actually save you up to 30% of the dye you need to get a nice deep color. That's a huge deal.
And with that final upgrade, the transformation is complete. We've taken this water-repelling, impurity-filled fabric and turned it into the absolute perfect material for adding color.
So let's just quickly recap that whole journey. It starts with singeing, the shave, then desizing, the soak that removes that starchy shield. That's followed by scouring, the deep cleaning scrub. Then comes bleaching for that final purification. And lastly, the optional but game-changing mercerizing, the superpower upgrade. The result of this whole intensive makeover is a fabric that's been totally reborn. It's now incredibly absorbent, it's strong, it's stable, and it's a brilliant, uniform white. It's the ideal canvas, just sitting there, waiting for an artist to come along.
But think about it. This entire complicated process was just the prep work. So the really big question now is, with this perfect white canvas ready to go, how exactly do we make it blue and red and green and every other color you can possibly imagine? Well, that's a story for another time.